8. So after the penalty, they start first down and 20, and Stafford again with a lot of time and wide open. Golladay inside the 20 to 15, the 10. Golladay, the end zone, and a touchdown.
Hey everybody, welcome to Croco Sports Video 4. I'm gonna take a different angle on this video. I'm gonna try to lean towards more of a fantasy perspective, because I know that season is definitely coming up, and I couldn't be more excited about fantasy. And I've just been, being quarantined, I've been doing these mock drafts over and over again and trying to best prepare myself to put myself in the best situation possible if I were to have like a top 5 pick, whether it be like, if it's a 12-man league, maybe I have the 10th or 11th pick or so, and see how the draft plays out. So I wanted to kind of give you guys some insight and tell you about some the 2020 sleeper wide receivers that are going to be most likely available for you, like in those late rounds, those weird type of rounds where like there's a guy that you see but you're not sure if you want to take the leap on that specific receiver. So I'm gonna take a dive right in. Playerprofiler.com has been amazing with these analytics and like the just really analyzing each statistic and even more. So I'm gonna, and of course with my little spins on it. So we'll see. I'm definitely gonna. It's definitely an interesting fantasy season at that. So the first receiver I'm going to be talking about is Kenny Golladay. Maybe you heard of him, but he's the number 1 receiver on the Detroit Lions. He's a baller. He is like a, this is definitely going to be a stretch, but I'm going to say he could be like a Megatron 2.0. But he's definitely a threat to be. He's definitely you got to circle him when you're versing the Detroit Lions. Definitely, he had 65 catches. He averaged throughout the 2019 season 4.1 catches per game, which was 29th in the league. I would love to see him eclipse more catches in that matter, because he's an every down receiver. He is the primary guy on almost every route, and he shows it play after play. He had 1,190 receiving yards. He's averaging like 74.4 yards per game, which is number 6 in the league. So when he does get his catches, he's making the most of it. He's trying his best to get open, whether it's contested catches, whether it's open targets for Stafford or Driscoll, whoever's going to be throwing the ball. This stat has really surprised me. His yards after catch, yak. He had 283 total yards after the catch, which was number 27 in the league. So his run after the catch is definitely a threat to be reckoned with. His efficiency numbers were, he had 18.3 yards per reception, which was number 4 in the league. So he's running like 15-yard routes or so downfield. So he's not really like a wide receiver screen kind of guy. He's more of just a, he's a pure route runner for sure. And he's gonna be out there. So and Stafford, he has one of the best deep balls in the league, so he's gonna be throwing that up 10 times out of 10. So he has a 56% catch rate, and you get that number by dividing total receptions by the total targets, which was number 86 in the league. So he's catching the ball at a 56% rating. So I mean, I'm definitely gonna keep throwing it his way for sure. One of the biggest stats that I really liked was he has a 54.2% contested catch rate, which is number 7 in the league. So there's another receiver in this list that I've compiled that those numbers are kind of in that same kind of area, same kind of range. But he's number 7, the number 7 wide receiver in the league with a contested catch rate of 54.2%. So that's definitely a huge upside for Kenny Golladay, and I have all the confidence that he's going to make an even bigger splash in 2020 season. Leading into my next wide receiver, I'm a huge fan of this guy. He's in his second year. His name's Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, he is Mr. Reliable, and I know we have a small sample size of of him for being a wide receiver. It was only his rookie year last year, Ohio State. He had a 98.2 snap share of the Washington football team, and He spent a majority of those snaps being in the slot, which is like a 13.7% in the slot, and that was that 98.2 snap percentage is number 4 in the league. And so he was always on the field. He was always trying to make a difference, and whether it be Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, and I saw Alex Smith got cleared for practice, so maybe some Alex Smith throws. Why not? I love Alex Smith. He had 58 receptions, averaging 4.1 per game. He had 919 receiving yards, averaging about like 65.6 per game. He had 7 total touchdowns. And I would love to see that's a pretty good rookie camp. Like Darius Slayton for the Giants got eight touchdowns as a rookie, and he had 7 with like two different starting quarterbacks in the lineup. So I mean, he can adapt, and that's huge for a wide receiver. Is just adapting to if the quarterback's under pressure, if he throws it a certain way, like they're easily adaptable to the situation. McLaurin averaged 13.7 fantasy points per game, which makes him the 29th ranked receiver. That's why he's just so, he can go in those later rounds, and he can be found. He's such a gem, and he's only going to get better. And I'm excited to see what they do with him in the future, move him around all over the place, because he's that special, and I really think that they have something in him. Like I said with Kenny Golladay, his contested catch rate is at 68.4% off 19 targets, which is number 1 in the league. So Terry McLaurin, you don't see it on paper, but like he's about 6 foot. He's coming down with almost 70% of his contested catches from a rookie quarterback or from a veteran in Case Keenum. What more can you ask? Like he one-on-one, he believes that he's gonna come down and get it, and that is, he won't be a sleeper for very long. The next wide receiver I wanted to go into is DJ Chark. He had 73 catches on the season, averaging about 5 per game, which was 19th in the league. He just eclipsed 1,000 yards, 1,008 yards, averaging 67.2 yards per game. He had 8 touchdowns, was number 8 in the league. But I could see Chark really like growing on his connection with Gardner Minshew, because like you could see right away that they had a connection. Like I always look back at that highlighted play against the Panthers, where Gardner Minshew dimed it like the left side of the field, and Chark just caught it right there and went right for a touchdown. Like they just have that connection, and I see it. Like it's good stuff. He's from LSU. He's speedy. He had no drops this year, which is crazy. He's a second-year receiver, and you had to really research him after week 1, because he caught that pass from Nick Foles, and then Nick Foles shortly left the game after that. One of his falls, he had for his contested catch rate, he had 25.8% off 31 targets, which I mean, in comparison to McLaurin and Golladay, that's not really not really meeting those numbers at all. But that's what he can get better at. Maybe Minshew did target him though, 31 targets. That's a lot of deep balls. So, or intermediate, small, So, and he had 117 targets on the year, averaging about 7.8 targets a game. So Minshew's definitely looking his way. So I have all the faith that even in PPR leagues, like half PPR, he'll definitely give you those points, because the man's averaging 5 catches a game. So I'll definitely take a risk on that. And then the next wide receiver, the last wide receiver I want to talk about is Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd. People often forget about this guy. This guy is coming in and day out, making some catches, he had 90 catches on the year, averaging 5.6 per game, which is number 8 in the league. He had 1,045 yards, 65. He was averaging 65.3 yards per game, which was number 22 in the league. 5 touchdowns. I'd love to see that number go up. Of course, we need your star wide receiver scoring some touchdowns and having some game breakers. He's averaging 13.9 fantasy points a game, which is number 27 in the league. He had 363 yards after catch, averaging 2.5 yards after he catches the ball, which is number 10 in the league. He does have a little of a drop. He had 10 drops on the year, which was number 3 in the league. And you strive to get better, and he's got some competition. He has a young quarterback with Joe Burrow, so you got AJ Green coming back off a year being injured with that ankle injury. Hopefully, comes back better than ever. You got T. Higgins from Clemson. We'll see how he does. I believe he's going to do very well as well. And now you have John Ross on the roster as well. So there's a lot to feed in that Bengals offense. And to give the keys to Joe Burrow, I think he can definitely do it. And to have a guy like Tyler Boyd, who's been called into action to be the number 1 receiver, that's going to be huge for him. That's definitely going to be huge for him. And then Tyler Boyd, he had a 48.6 contested catch rate off 35 targets, which was number 10 in the league. So it's definitely better than the Chark numbers. It's kind of he found his way in the top 10 with McLaurin and Galladay. And you give him a chance, he's clutch too. He really is. Against I believe it was against the Cardinals this past year, he had the game tying touchdown. But then the Cardinals end up taking the game in overtime. That's what Tyler Boyd brings to the table. He's a game breaker, absolutely. So these guys are definitely names to keep watch. You guys for tuning in for this week's Crocco Sports video. One favor though, I want you guys to let me know in the comments section if I missed anybody, and if you guys could have any more to add to these guys, I would love to hear it. And your voice matters to me, and it means the world. It really does. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys very, very soon.